Dana White, thank you so much. UFC 250. Amanda Nunes, tell us about Amanda, because she trains here in South Florida, American Top Team. She's just a tremendous talent, a good person. What are your thoughts of Amanda, and what has she meant to UFC?
Yeah, no, listen, she's the GOAT of female combat sports, and one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time. And I like to, when I think about her, first of all, you look at her resume and what she's done, you know, the who's who of mixed martial arts, but not just who she beat, but how she beat them. You know, one of the things that if people want to criticize female fighting, they say, well, they don't have that one-punch knockout power. She does. She has that one-punch knockout power, and, you know, she's knocked out some of the greats. Good ground game, submission. You probably won't like this. You probably won't like this one, but she's like Tom Brady. You know, Brady has set the record and the bar so high that it's going to be so hard for another quarterback to beat him and break his records, and especially the longevity for how long he's played. You know, that's what she's like right now. She's setting the bar so high, it's going to be hard for other female fighters to break her records.
Dana, do you ever think we'll see a day where there might be men and women intergender fighting?
I don't know, man. Amanda Nunes could do it. I don't know if a lot of other women could. I don't think there's ever going to be a scenario where punching a woman in the face is going to be a good thing.
Right. Yeah, true. Yeah, especially any day and age. I mean, really. Hey, also down here, Joanna trains American Top Team. What can you say about American Top Team and just the talent, men and women, that they have down here?
Let me tell you what, the American Top Team has been a complete blessing to this sport since the day we got involved and before we ever got involved. What Dan Lambert has done for many, many athletes and young kids, you know, coming in off the streets to be able to train and live the lives that they can live, that he has provided for them, has been an absolute, you know, incredible thing for the sport.
Dana, what has it been like having UFC back? And even though we're in a pandemic, aren't a pandemic, and I'm sure that there was no time off for you, just every day involved in something.
Right. Yeah, no, it's been crazy. And you know, from day one, I've been saying, we can continue, we can go on, we can put on safe fights, we can do this without hurting anybody. And I was right.
How much did you keep an eye on Florida and what Governor DeSantis was doing here and what WWE was doing here and AEW wrestling and all, doing their shows?
Governor DeSantis is a stud. And the way that this guy has conducted himself and his state through this whole thing has been phenomenal. And the way that he worked with us through the whole thing, I like that guy very much, and I have a lot of respect for him. And you know, what an amazing example this guy has been as a governor for the state of Florida.
Did you have talks with WWE and AEW just to see how they were doing things and running shows in Jacksonville and in Orlando?
Yeah, not WWE, but the AEW I talked to.
Because they were specifically, AEW was running in Jacksonville, where you ended up having your shows. What was that like, putting that all together and able to do 3 successful shows in 8 days? Has that ever been done before?
I don't know. I don't know if it has, but yeah, it couldn't have run any smoother. The athletic commission couldn't have been any better. The mayor of Jacksonville couldn't have been any better, and obviously, I can't say enough good things about your governor.
Also about Tony Khan and what he's doing with All Elite Wrestling and what they've been doing. Were most of the talks...
You know what else was impressive about your governor? You know, your governor pulled this off with us at a time when this guy was taking unbelievable amounts of heat. He's actually probably the only guy in the country that was taking more heat from the media than me.
Well, the thing was, he was really focused on, let's do it safe, but we can still do and conduct business. And
This is exactly the way everybody should be thinking. He's exactly right, and I couldn't agree with him more. And you know, it's even better when you know you're right and you prove it.
And now with Tony Khan and what they're doing with All Elite Wrestling, did you get to meet with him then too, or just talk with him on the phone and handle things that way? Is it more about just how they were doing testing and guidelines and things like that?
I met with both the Khans, the father and son, when I was out there. What a couple of great, humble, amazing people they were. Yeah, we had very good conversations about, what we were doing, what they were doing, and how we could both do it better. Yeah, amazing people. It was the first time I'd ever met them was when we were down in Jacksonville, and I'm a big fan.
Will we see more shows in Florida, in Jacksonville, or anything like that? I know now you've been using the UFC Apex in Las Vegas.
As soon as fans come back, I'm coming back to Jacksonville, and I'm going to blow the doors off that place.
And also, Dana, is there a tentative contingency plan in place yet for when fans are allowed to come back?
I'm not even thinking about that right now. I'm still trying to get everybody cool out here with the no fans. Get these guys comfortable. This is our second show. Next week will be our third. We're going back to back to back, and once everybody's, it's all going to determine on how this whole thing plays out. I think you've noticed, as the rest of the world has, the whole coronavirus thing has died down over the last week. And it'll be interesting to see how this thing plays out over the next couple months.
Was it simpler or easier, and I know that's the interesting wording, but to do 3 shows in 8 days because there were no fans?
No, we could have done it with fans too. Listen, I say it all the time. I have an incredible team here. We pulled off. We canceled. We got an event canceled in Las Vegas during Christmas week. In 2 days, we moved the entire event to LA, including selling tickets.
That's just amazing. I just if anyone wants to see what in sports, entertainment, anything, what's going on, to me, that's just amazing. I don't know how many groups could pull something like that off. It's just unbelievable, Dana, what you guys are all doing. What does the future hold for UFC?
We're going to continue to, once the world gets back to normal, we're going to continue to go into all the, imagine, we were on fire before this pandemic. Ticket sales were off the charts. Everything was going crazy. Imagine when they start letting fans back, we can actually start heading out into these other countries and different parts of the United States and putting on events. It's going to be awesome. But until then, I have Fight Island all dialed in. Our first fight there is going to be July 11th, and I'll probably stay there for most of the month of July, knocking out all those international fights, and we're just going to continue to, create programming for ESPN and our other partners around the world.
Are you credited with coming up with Fight Island? Did some of your team come up with that? How did that all come about? And just trying to think of different ways to present the product and present content.
Well, the name itself, Fight Island, happened on an interview on TMZ when I was doing a TMZ interview. But yeah, Fight Island, the first thing, as soon as this pandemic started, I started looking at obvious problems that I was going to face, because every day we would get a bunch of work done, and the next day the whole world would change. So the one no-brainer was, what's going to be impossible is international travel. So we need to figure out a place, a destination where the whole world can go, but we have to be able to get planes in and out of there, and et cetera, et cetera. So we came up with Fight Island.
Dana, in Florida itself, is it more cost effective because there are so many fighters and training centers in Florida to do those early fights? Like you used Jacksonville, the Florida was open, the state was open because of the governor and the government, but still, was Jacksonville also a good location as far as traveling, or that really didn't factor in anything?
No, not really. It was all about the fact that your government, and when I say your government, from your governor to the Jacksonville mayor to the state athletic commission, were all willing to work with us to figure out solutions to these problems to make it safe. That's what the government is there for. That's what they're supposed to do. You know what I mean?
It's just setting the whole trend for others, and it's done well. And you've proved that. AEW's proved it. WWE's proved it. Putting on events. Now concerts are starting to get back into the fold, hopefully in July. We're just seeing this whole transformation, which is great. Dana, could you ever fathom anything like this happening and just dealing with a situation like this? And what have you learned from all this, if anything?
This is exactly what I've learned. 3.5 months ago, I spoke at this big investment conference, and they're like, what keeps you up at night? You know, what are problems you could have with your business? I said, we're good, man. I don't see anything that, you know, pandemic. Who the hell would see that coming? Think about this. Disney, one of the most powerful companies on earth ever in the history of mankind, right? No people can go to their... My point was always, you could put an 8th grader in there to run the thing, okay? And it'll cruise for a while. It would take you a while to figure out an 8th grader was running Disney. Nobody allowed at their parks, no movies going out, and no live sports on ESPN. I mean, it's like the trifecta of horror shows for that company. It's just you couldn't ask for anything worse than a company that seemed invincible.
It's so true, and it's just amazing, and to be able to do something like that and think of it like that, it's just such a dynamic, changing time. When you were thinking about UFC, we'll wrap this up, but when you were thinking about UFC Fight Island and doing that, do you have a specific location now that you have in place?
Yeah. The infrastructure is being built there right now. Infrastructure is being built. I'm going to make an announcement next week with images of Fight Island.
And what about also, I have to ask you about South Florida, because you had a really good show in South Florida at the BBT Center in Sunrise, and there were no title fights that night. Your top fighter from Miami drops out, and you had a nice crowd. Once everything, we're getting back into place with everything, what are your thoughts now? Because I remember many years ago, big show in Miami, and I think Matt Hughes was on the card, maybe Chuck Liddell was on the card, and it was such a disappointment, not because of anything you all did, but just fans that come out. Then now, we've seen years later, we had this great event in Sunrise there in Fort Lauderdale. What are your thoughts of South Florida? And you mentioned American Top Team, obviously. They're in South Florida. So, of having shows down here.
Yeah, we've had some spots in Florida that have been really successful for us. And on television, in pay-per-view, we kill it out of Florida. It's just when we go to South and put on big events, they just don't pop like they do in other cities. But they do on pay-per-view and TV. It's a very weird thing. But yes, we're due. We're due for another South Florida show.
Yeah, it would be great to have one down here and all. And a lot of talent training down here, as we noted before and all. And Dana, are there any other ideas? I know this is such a trying time, just getting everything back in order. And you have Fight Island. Are there any other ideas, content-wise, social media-wise, of amping up things for UFC just to get things going until we get these crowds back?
Yeah, I mean, this is what we do. We're continuously working on social media to make, the thing about, I have this philosophy that everybody wants to watch a fight. If there's a good fight on, everybody wants to see it. You just have to know it's on. And normally in this world where there's just so many things, especially in the sports world, you got NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, soccer, this, that, then there's college, all of those sports too. So sometimes it's hard to break through. But we continue to figure out new ways to educate the fans and let everybody know that, the fights are happening. Who are these fighters? Why should you care about this fight? And I think it's one of the things that we're actually the best at.
And lastly, Dana, I'll let you go, and thank you again so much time. UFC 250. It's going to be a really great event. ESPN Plus. It'll be really cool. Amanda Nunes, American Top Team, double champion. I think I asked her, she might be able to go for 5 titles if she wanted to, but she's not going to do that. But I'm just wondering, when you were in Jacksonville, did you meet any of the pro wrestlers, Dana? I know a lot of them are into it. Undertaker's into it, but there's a lot of them that are into it. I'm just wondering if you met any while you were up there during those times.
No, not then, but I've met the Undertaker before. He's come to a lot of events. And, I don't want to say this in the interview, but I can't remember his name. Who's the world champion for the AEW right now. They brought over. He came to the fight.
Oh yeah, that's John Moxley. Yeah, he went by another name with WWE.
Hell, now talk to him. He actually lives in Vegas.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, Moxley's a really good person, good fighter, good wrestler, good champion and all. So, yeah, there's so many. But anyway, Dana, thank you so much for the time. All the best as always. We look forward to seeing you in Florida and South Florida when you guys return.